Dispatches from Deep Space Nine.
All right, welcome back to Dispatches from Deep Space Nine.
Hey,
I'm Chad. Ben, this is the third episode of season 1, and it is called Past Prologue. Even though it technically was supposed to be the 4th episode, but they changed it around for reasons.
Yeah, it certainly felt. It just felt like all of a sudden it wasn't introducing anything anymore, and the time had passed.
You think that? I mean, like it's introducing Kira's backstory and stuff.
I feel maybe they moved it up. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason that's probably available why they moved it up, but maybe because of Garrick. They're like, hey, sure. Garrick is dynamic.
Garrick's the guy, you know. He's what everybody wants.
He's great. I'm a fan of the show without even. I'm a fan of him without ever watching the show, just through YouTube. So I really like him.
So what did overall, before we get started, like what did you know, and get into the nitty gritty of it? Like, what did you think of the episode?
It's complicated. Could I lay out like my relationship to the episode and Deep Space Nine as a whole really quickly. Last time sure. I said that I laid out my Star Trek. I forgot some Star Trek I've seen. I watched some of Voyager. I watched like a season of Voyager on Netflix, and also on YouTube I watched a lot of the Hologram Doctor and 7 of 9 videos on YouTube. So I do also know some of Voyager, and I've also watched another episode. I've watched somewhere around COVID, just either before or after we tried to do this podcast, and we watched 3 to 2 episodes of the show, including this episode. So I have seen this once before. And then also I have, because of YouTube again, enjoyed a video starring Rosalind Chow as Mrs. O'Brien, Kiko O'Brien. And that was a very funny video. And then as a result of loving that video so much, I looked up a long time ago, probably before you ever showed me the first 2 episodes, the episode where Chief O'Brien does not water bonsai trees while she's gone. And that's the funniest thing. Anyway, because I love the viral video where it's just her having to do this ridiculous shit for that. When that's episode, I think, is in the first season. So it's really cool to get to because I thought the video online, she has to make some funny faces and stuff. But anyway, that's my relationship with this show and with Star Trek Updated. And also, when I first watched this, I don't know how affected I am by, one person's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist storylines. There's a lot of them. It was okay.
So you're not a huge fan of that kind of story.
I mean, again, what always sticks out to me, and I think I said this last time, and the group that we were doing it last time, we said the phrase, the state has a monopoly on violence. And that's a critique of the story that just doesn't occur to these writers, which is just that, at the end of I guess we shouldn't talk about the end of the episode, but just like it's always people who have things that are not involved in the status quo or who are paired with violence. It's always like a lot of times. Yeah.
Well, don't worry about the state monopolization on violence, because they're going to come back to this over and over again, and they examine every facet of it. This is just one. This operates more as an episode about Kira, and it operates more as an episode about her backstory and about her growth away from wanting to turn to violence to solve her problems, and to instead want to use words and be diplomatic.
Well, I mean, that's good, but the main thing I thought about Kira was she now has an earring thing that's dangling from her ear that her old friend, the freedom fighter / terrorist, had, and I think
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even realize that she didn't have it in the first episode. I just take it for granted.
She had big hair in the first episode. I think you commented on that, and so that hair may have been obscuring.
The hair is fixed.
Her hair is different now. But I think in the first episode, the only person I noticed that kind of earring dangling chain to another part of your ear was on an old man. Maybe Kaiapaka, but also an old man who was like, "Go visit Kaiapaka," or "You're welcome here mystically," or whatever that guy was.
Yeah, he was like the weird mystic guy when Cisco first got on the station, was kind of like, "Do you want to come in here and pray in our temple?" And then they like had a really long, uncomfortable stare like right past camera as soon as Cisco walked away.
Like completely unnecessary mystic shit.
Yeah. So that is going to be the norm. Okay. Every Bajoran has
I figured that out because it's like he had it, her old friend had it, and she had it now. But anyway, my complaint last episode was they chose one feature to alter on everyone's face, and now they've gone up to 2 features on Bajorans, and that's still, I'm not excited about the Bajoran look. It just seems kind of like humanoids. We're generic humanoids.
They have so many day players that come in to play Bajorans that there's no way
of course.
They could like monetarily do that much work to them. And they, in order to get, I think, certain actors, they probably didn't want to have to go through 6 hours in the makeup chair, and just putting a thing on the bridge of their nose and putting a little clip-on earring thing that probably took 40 minutes or something to do all that stuff was probably the extent that they wanted to actually fuck with it.
If you're not going to, then just don't do anything. just.
But they're still aliens, so you have to make them aliens. You're like I said that last episode. You're just going to get past that because that's just a thing. I'm going to nitpick that stuff until I feel it. Don't feel the nitpick need. Is Ensign Ro? Is she a Bajoran? Okay, she is a Bajoran.
I think it's just generally I like Michelle Forbes, and I bemoan her not agreeing to do the show. But Kira seems fine. I just.
Nana Visitor's great and is an accomplished director.
And she's also, I think Nana Visitor is also maybe she's the one who's in Battlestar Galactica, later, and Ron Moore is involved with this show as well. But I feel like I may be confusing my people, but I think Nana Visitor may be like this life form computer person that lives in a bathtub, but maybe that's not her. Maybe that's a different person. I don't know. Anyway, I just remember her name because it's a very unusual name, Nana Visitor. But I have a lot to say about some of this stuff. But
do you want me to just start?
We can start. We can go by character or plot episode, or whatever you want. Whatever you want to do.
We'll just go through the plot. I mean, so the beginning of the episode is the ship is fleeing some Cardassians. Typical sort of Star Trek stuff. You think things are going one way, right? Bajoran ship is fleeing from a Cardassian ship. Oh, this is instantly bad. We need to solve this. Up until the point of the guy Tana. You don't see his face, so at first you're thinking, oh, maybe he's not even a Bajoran or something. But then he emerges and it's like, okay, it's just a Bajoran. But it was really just for Kira to go when she saw somebody that she knew, who was this old freedom fighter guy who was big about taking drastic measures. The Konma will not be the last crazy terrorist organization that's in this, and that is not just reserved for Bajorans. Other races will also have terrorist organizations in the show.
I just was gonna say, I said this last time we talked about this episode. The guy who plays, what is his name? Tana. The guy who plays Tana Los. I looked him up just to make sure before we watched. Is Jeffrey Nordling, and he was in season 7 of the television show 24, which is a terrible television show, one of the most tasteless television shows ever made, which during the Bush administration I loved watching with my family because it created a feeling of campy unease, and the entire show is put forth by a man named Joel Surnow in order to sell the idea that in a ticking time bomb scenario you should be able to torture people And that is his stated position, which was also the stated position legally through John Yoo in the Bush administration, that we should be able to torture people, which is an insane position, because the common point is torture does not yield accurate results, and you're not usually in a ticking time bomb scenario. Anyway, the whole show of 24 is Jack Bauer is a superhero, and he can just torture people. No one else is.
And his superpower is torturing.
No one else is willing, but he just like one of my favorite. I'll send it to you. One of the silliest things is there's a scene where he's with Peter Weller and Mary Kay. Is it Mary Kay? No, it's what is her name? I forget her name. But Mary Beth Hurt maybe, or somebody, and he shoots her in the leg. Like, it's like the bad guy is Peter Weller, but he can't torture him, so he's like, I'm gonna shoot your wife in the kneecap, and he's the hero of the show. It's a dumb show, and it's so campy that it kind of makes it better for me. And I had so fond memories of making fun of it online. Anyway, in that show, a character played by Jeffrey Nordling, who is Tana in this episode, is an agent Larry Moss. And there's a scene, it's so campy and dumb, and I think the actor did a great job. He just plays the boss of Jack Bauer and his love interest / partner. And then like they cut to one time, and it's like he's just staring at his ex-girlfriend, who's also his employee, and she has a framed photo on his desk, and he has this look. It's just such I don't know how to describe it. It was so funny and dumb that he was this lovesick puppy for this woman, and it was just it was silly because it was out of place in this world of Jack Bauer torturing people and terrorists trying to blow up LA all the time and all this stupid shit. And anyway, I can't take that apart from Tana in this episode, Jeffrey Nordling. He has like Los Angeles good looks. He has like a big brow and kind of like a square jaw, and he just looks really clean and handsome. And he doesn't seem like a rugged terrorist at all. He just seems, again, he and Nana Visitor did fine with the material, but it's just like all I could see was Agent Larry. And I really like Agent Larry because he was the funniest thing about that show. It was the season where Janine Garofalo was hired in order so that Kiefer Sutherland could yell at her. And they threw in an ad break in the middle of it to punctuate him yelling at her. And it was just for this show. They tricked Janine Garofalo so she could get yelled at for political reasons on the show, as I remember it. Anyway, very fucked up show. Janine Garofalo was just having a humane reaction to the Iraq War and various other things. And so, anyway, all that leads me, just reinforces my feeling of, again, I'll wait till we get to the end. I'll wait till we get to this. I get, of course, terrorism is wrong. Murdering people is wrong. And that is, but eventually we learn that he isn't trying to, he is, anyway, he's, I'll shut up. Let's keep going.
Also in this episode, Julian Bashir and Elam Urich start the beginning of their friendship.
You said Elam Urich?
Elam
Garrick. Okay, I'm about to say. He didn't say he had a first name in this episode.
No, you don't find out his name. Sorry. But Garrick, you're introduced to the beginning of their friendship, their relationship that they have. Introduction of his character. Andrew Robinson plays him. And they overhear these two Klingon sisters, you find out, the Duras sisters, which anybody who's a fan of Next Generation knows Duras and the Duras sisters.
They summed them up in about a sentence, and I wondered whether or not that was a real, it was like off screen or in Next Gen, but I guess.
Oh no, it's in it, but I mean, it's about all you need to know for this. So it's not super important, really. I mean, it's cool to know the backstory and stuff, but they're clearly up to no good. If you know anything about their characters, they're fucking shitheads, and they're opportunists.
Yeah, they seem like generic, angry Klingons with cleavage, basically.
That's and then well, with Julian, he is super excited about that at first. Is that even how the episode starts?
The second scene is he runs into Garrick in the cafe.
Oh, okay.
And I think there's something to talk about there, which is like, there's, I know this from talking about Garrick off with you or some, we're reading about it, is that he played it as an older man who was interested in the Julian Bashir character, it's like the best thing. Like it really comes across in a really fun way, and it's just such a great performance. And he's making a pass, but he's also toying with the dude, and he's also using him to help his schemes. And
and it also works in an amazing way of like all of his conversations, especially with Julian, are constantly double, triple entendre. He's using heavy metaphor and stuff while he's talking to them about stuff. I mean, to a comedic effect, like to where even the Julian character is like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And it just gets worse from here. Like this is the beginning of it. It like at times it's just it's almost impenetrable. In some episodes where even the viewer is like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. And it's great. I mean, it's used as a comedic bit most of the time. Sometimes though, it's going to get away from that.
He seems to be having fun in how he's really fun.
And he does seem to be having fun. Yeah, Andrew Robinson, somebody I know met him. I don't remember who was on you. Somebody I know met him and he said like, that was like his favorite role was to be Garrick. And I think maybe he wrote a book. Like, I think maybe he wrote like a novelization or something with Garrick. I can't remember. I'll have to look that up for the next episode. But anyway, through all of that, we start to see stories are converging, and these are obviously all linked together. Your A, B, and C plots with these three seemingly disparate things going on. The Cardassians are trying to get this terrorist who has committed horrible atrocities against them even after the war has been over.
Well, they say that, but then later they say they're trying to... Don't they have a different motive later? Like they're trying to stop the... Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I mean, he has a different motive later. But like when there's
that brief conversation that the chasing Kardashian has with Sisko, where he says, like you said, you pointed out, it was like a very polite "I told you so," and I feel like it seemed like they had knowledge of an impending plot. Like it was different from trying to catch him up for past crimes, but there was a knowledge of an impending plot to.
I can't remember now, but like, I mean, definitely they know that he's an active terrorist,
sure.
Like, and that they do want to. So while while the Cardassians are bad, and they are still bad by the end of the episode, they didn't have altruistic motives or anything.
And they
for
like
trying
to torture
stop
people.
Them. And they do like to torture
24
people.
is a bad thing.
Yeah, and you will see that. But it is funny to watch that character, the Cardassian, from the beginning of the episode, who gets saddled with a bunch of bureaucratic shit to keep him in the docking area for too long, and then has to get into this conversation with Sisko, and Sisko is so good, and Avery Brooks is so good at this in the show, always, of not saying what he means, and talking very politically when he has to, and they have a great conversation in that moment, and then even later, but at the end of the episode. But yeah, like you said, it's that great moment at the end where he's talking to him over the video call thing, and he's on the screen, and he says, like basically like I tried to tell you about this, and he's like, yeah, but cuts him off because obviously they're monsters. He wasn't going to trust this piece of shit coming up and saying, I was just trying to get this Bajoran so I can take him back home.
There's two goals here. Like, one is torture and kill this guy for past crimes, and the other goal was prevent a future crime. And I feel like at the beginning of the episode, it was, we got to kill this guy for past crimes. But at the end of the episode, it was like, I told you. But I guess it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. I mean, he's an active terrorist, but the point is that it's funny that like they were technically on the same side the whole time. They
that was a cool turnabout. I liked it.
But there's no reason to trust them at the same time. So they had to go through the whole rigmarole to figure out that he was a piece of shit the whole time. You get to see a little bit, like some inklings of Cole Meany and Alexander Siddig's budding relationship. They have a nice little relationship in this show. It's almost like he comes in in that moment when he's trying to tell him about Garrick, and it almost feels like a later episode where he's like running up to his best friend to tell him like, Garrick said this crazy thing, and Cole Meany just looks at him like, okay, we barely fucking know each other. And then he just moves on to the rest of the officers, who all just kind of brush him off like, okay. Later in that episode with Bashir and Garrick, he tells him that he needs to come to his shop and to come try on a suit at whatever it was, 2055 or something, military time. And of course, the comedy playing out in the scene is that Julian is, for some reason, unaware that this is some sort of obfuscation of what's actually going on. He just keeps going, I don't want to suit Garrick.
That would be a moment where Garrick should have been more clear. In real life, he would have been.
And the ridiculous thing is, after he tries the suit on, he just spills the beans for everything, So he does it at times just to be a dick, and that's good too. It's part of his character. This of the Deep Space Nine model, I would say this is a pretty simple episode, pretty straightforward. It mainly operates as a Kira episode, and then has the beginning of Garrick's arc with Julian, and then that's pretty much it. That's most of it. You get a nice moment between Odo and Kira, and that's actually, I think, a pretty well written.
That was a nice scene.
Where he talks about some fucking ostrich that's on some other planet that, instead of burying its head in the sand, buries its head in water until it fucking drowns itself sometimes. And it's like, it's funny and still illustrative of a point. And Rene Auberjonois is so great. And you get to see the beginnings of his kind of fascistic tendencies within the show, which is not really... Well, I mean, I guess Worf is kind of like that, but it's a little different for Odo's character in this show.
To me, Rene Auberjonois is like, all I've ever seen him is like in MASH and in Benson when I was a child. And I've only seen him play like nerdy dweeby characters who are like often the butt of jokes. And it's so interesting to see him with an obscure face. And as you pointed out, the makeup's better than it was in the first episode here. But
it gets
like,
better.
It's neat to see him play a tough character, and to me, he always reminds me of Casablanca. Like, that's the kind of thing that Rick and Casablanca would say is like, oh yeah, if only I could, throw these people in. I mean, he wasn't really the main character, but anyway, like, he wasn't the character who threw people in jail. But there's this, Odo says, it was nicer than the Kardashians when I could just throw people in jail without any cause. And
yeah, exactly, because I could prevent things from happening. But who knows how many things that you'll find out more about him and the Cardassians and all this stuff later. Because I know definitely early on in the series, I was like, so wait, Odo was working with the Cardassians, and it's
he's working with the Cardassians?
The way they
you mean before the Starfleet take.
Yeah, right. It was easier back then because you could just throw people in prison. And so they'll...
I thought you meant like now, and I was like, what?
No. But Yeah, I mean, I don't know what
there's
else
a lot of little
did you
things I
really
would like to talk about.
think about this. Yeah, let's talk about
one
the
you
little things.
mentioned right when we stopped watching the episode, you paused the video and talked about the shape of the hallway. And so I guess, could you, for listeners, talk about what you thought about the hallway?
Oh, it's just interesting. Anybody who's a fan of the show will always notice the architecture of the place and how it is almost defiantly made, and that's kind of a joke, but against the people that are actually on the station. because the hallway makes no sense in the docking ring, where you have these like barriers on the floor. It's almost like a submarine or something, where you would have hatches that would close or something in between the different bulkheads or something, you know. But there's nothing there. It's just an obstacle that you have to pick your feet up over while you walk over it. And they're like making a point out of showing it at the end of the episode in a way, as Kira and Cisco are walking away. But there's lots more of that, and they talk about it. I think that's really cool.
Like you, the point you made was that no human who had, I think you said this earlier, which was that no person who had to drag things down a hallway would design a hallway in which, right? You know, but like anyway, it's just it.
There's no reason.
Maybe it's a Cardassian thing, but Cardassian is different. The whole Casablanca nature of this place is it's a ragtag mixture of people who are thrown together in a not entirely comfortable space. And I think that really is neat. It's a nice contrast with Starfleet ships where, you know, everything is super smooth and sleek all the time, or at least it's supposed to be sometimes. And anyway, I thought that was a neat detail. And
this station is very different. It's very different because it wasn't designed by Starfleet, and much to Cole Meany's, you know, he hates it. He hates much of the Cardassian design of the station because it doesn't live up to Starfleet code and just doesn't make any fucking sense.
I didn't notice that until you pointed it out, but I do think they could go farther with that, and I hope they go farther with that. I hope that they need to make this much harder to live in this place. Like I want, you know, power outages and problems and, you know, just issues doing normal things, which I'm sure will probably come. There were other things that I wanted to also talk about. I guess it would be helpful if I thought about the other characters. Let's see. Ooh.
While you're looking things up, this episode was named after the line from William Shakespeare's The Tempest. What's past is prologue.
I don't know. Let's see. We talked about Kira. She has new hair. We talked about, I'm looking at memoryalpha.fandom.com. We talked about how Dax had like 2 lines and she got paid to be in the episode, but she had like 2 lines.
I just thought that was funny that she, you know, for the most part was barely in it, but she was probably glad because I can't remember what the next Dax episode is, but she's going to have heavy loads to have to carry, you know, throughout an episode. So, I mean, she has some pretty tough episodes, honestly, that she has to do.
I was going to say that about the wormhole. At the end, it's revealed that Agent Larry does not want to kill people. He just wants to blow up the wormhole, which would be turn Bajor. Bajor now has super economic importance, you know, and so it's like by destroying this wormhole, this making it a source of commercial activity, then it will be left alone by both the Cardassians and the Starfleet, or maybe not the Starfleet, but anyway, people will be less interested and less likely to exploit it for economic gain and or whatever. You know, that's my interpretation of what they're talking about with the wormhole. And to me, like that, you know, that viewpoint is more likely in media to be represented as, you know, like a terrorist viewpoint, somebody using violence, you know, to be anti-capitalistic or to have a goal other than, you know, like it's always like that often in media where it's just like, you know, people might have a view that's sympathetic, but then they go too far, and like it's just like, he wasn't trying to murder people, right? Like he was just trying to blow up the wormhole.
What he was trying to do was he was thinking, if I end, and he was aware of the wormhole, she brings it up earlier in the episode and to him, and he's like, oh, I know about the fucking wormhole. And then you realize that's the whole reason that he's here, is to blow it up. And the reason that he's going to blow it up is because he's like, it's bringing too much attention to Bajor. He doesn't want Bajor to be a part of this grander, bigger thing. He wants Bajor to just be this little place that he can enjoy and his people can
again,
enjoy.
I think that, like instead of...
It's a very small view. It's it's not a small-minded view. Also. It is a small-minded view because
it's an isolationist view, which is, I guess, a small. But
exactly, it's
and obviously you shouldn't blow up a
wormhole.
Like blowing up a wormhole, bad. Don't blow up a wormhole. But he does want to restrict.
But also there are things that live in that wormhole.
That's really bad. Like now you're killing the wormhole aliens, as we refer to them. Right. You call them the prophets or the wormhole aliens. Yeah. But there is a viewpoint where there could be a character in the show, a political character who's like not Kira's friend from high school, and she's like, hey. I don't want to blow up the wormhole or kill anybody, but I don't want any. I want to reduce trade with other nations.
But this is why it's a small-minded view, because they have to have the Federation there, and Kira knows that, because if they don't have they have no ships, they have no navy whatsoever. They have very diminished amounts of military. In any way, and they need the Federation there as a deterrent. The Federation's goal should not be to, like, again, I think if a planet as a whole that wants to decrease interaction with the rest of the galaxy, that's their right, right? And so, and the Federation, while it is kind of its underlying mission is to try to bring them into the Federation, they're not actively pushing it on them yet. It's just stuff is coming over to there now because the Federation's there, and it's like, so it's sort of uncontrollable in a way. But
is it uncontrollable?
There's not really
much.
I'm sure
there's an episode in the original series where Kirk is like, "Well, we need to leave these aliens alone because they're obviously they want to be left alone."
But if they left them alone, they would die
because the Cardassians would kill them.
The Cardassians would just come in and take it back again and kill them. So they can't leave. They're in a conundrum. I mean, it's well written in that way. The plot is forced upon them. It's very much like Ukraine or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's lots of direct comparisons to Earth. Of if there's not a larger power stationed there, a different power would just take it over. Not that they're even fighting or anything. It's just that the idea that the armed forces are there from a larger power stops a war from breaking out. South Korea.
We talked about this, and this comes up in the news with in the last 2 weeks, Trump has tried to realign us with Russia, which is terrifying. But like, and pull us out of NATO, or it seems like about to pull us out of NATO and stopped intelligence sharing with Ukraine and all this stuff. And anyway, Ukraine is a good moral example of what you're talking about. And that makes sense. Like, it's there, but there is Noam Chomsky has this wonderful like debate with William F. Buckley from 1960 something. And it's this wonderful back and forth. And it's basically, in that he states that any colonial power always has a propaganda type purpose and a economic purpose. So, like, for example, of Ukraine, like nakedly with the Trump administration. And again, I'm sorry to bring politics so much in this, but it is interesting to me. There's this interest in raw earth minerals, right? Or not? Is it raw earth? That's how Trump. Anyway, rare earth. I'm repeating his misstatement. Regardless. There's a propaganda purpose, which is, we've got to find the weapons of mass destruction. We've got to, beat back people. And there's also an economic purpose. We were interested in resources within that country. And obviously Bajor within the story, I submit to your better knowledge of this story. Bajor is someone who is being attacked by the Cardassians, just as Ukraine is being attacked by the Russians. But like, it's perfectly valid for a country to be like, we don't want the UN to send its peacekeeping force within our borders. We want, like that's is isolation perspective, but
certainly, but the majority of Bajorans want the Federation there because they don't want to die.
Okay, I surrender. I surrender.
So,
again, if it's just it's life and death, you know what you're talking about.
There's a reason there's a provisional government. The provisional government is siding with Starfleet and with the United Federation of Planets. The problem is you had 58 splinter cells organizations that were operating out of Bajor. They said it once in this episode, and I don't even know if they said it in the last episode, but the Cardassians were there for 50 fucking years. Yeah. It's like, so like Kira doesn't remember a free Bajor, most of the characters don't. I think maybe Kaiopaka is old enough or something. Maybe she gets into that later. But like most of the characters that you meet that are from Bajor are not old enough to remember a free Bajor. So like you have plenty that were born into servitude and then ended up joining a terrorist organization, because also Kira's a terrorist.
Well, but she's like, now she's not into killing now. She's not killing. The war's over and she's not into killing. No, because she's part of the government now. She's given up that life, but she was a terrorist before, and they talk about that a lot. This will not be the last time, and they thankfully kind of like dial it back some and get to other parts of her character and stuff. But it's an important part of her character, and it makes perfect sense for her. But I mean, she was basically she was also a freedom fighter. The Kardashians were an oppressive, murderous regime, right? Mm-hmm. So I mean, she was.
Yep, and again they can be both, right? Like some of the stuff that she did is not exactly freedom fightery. Some of it kind of just like
she made a reference
people.
to not being able to sleep because of something that she had done on some location.
Exactly. And that's the beginning of her talking about that when she was talking about it to Odo. And this is her trying to start to move past this, her PTSD and everything else that she has associated with it.
I bow to your knowledge of the situation. I do not understand the complexities of Bajor versus Cardassian versus the 50 years prior. But I do have a chip on my shoulder about like the way in which like UN type forces are portrayed versus it's always like people with a leftist point of view are super violent and sometimes in media. And it's like, there's no peaceful representation of and like this guy was like, I'm going to be super peaceful. and it wasn't, obviously.
He still ended up being like, we're going to blow it up.
I mean,
how are we going to solve it? With a bomb.
He was trying to blow up a wormhole, and I guess arguably he didn't know they're wormhole aliens that he was going to kill. But
sure, and not that the show even addresses that, right? But that it is an interesting idea, in that of course he's not aware of that. Well, maybe he should have thought more than 3 seconds about what he was going to do. All he thought was, if I get rid of wormhole, people go away. And that was it. And so what do I do? Same thing I've done before, blow up.
Well, but again.
And that's it.
Okay,
it's a simple mindset.
But it's a simple mindset because he's written that way. And I feel like.
Well, and it's a simple mindset, not just because he's written that way, but because that character had to be that way in order to survive. And that is like freedom fighter, terrorist, whatever you want to call him. That is what he had to do in order to survive. Think very straightforward. There's a reason he's still alive, and that's the reason why, is because it was very simple thinking.
Well, two things. One, a movie that some of this back and forth on in the show over his nature as a freedom fighter / terrorist. The movie Battle of Algiers is a fun movie about Algiers and French occupation of Algiers, and it's like a very cold, dark movie about people being killed, just a cycle of violence and torture and murderousness, and it's by I forget the man's name. Oh gosh, I can't believe I forgot the famous filmmaker from Italy. But anyway, the other thing that I was going to say is I've been watching this YouTuber who is like this London Russian or Ukrainian Russian guy. His name is Vlad Vexler. And he had a nice phrase that I really liked, which he said that integrity is a product of stability, which is like, which is just like, if you're going to have like moral integrity or other types of integrity, one of the first things you need is a stable environment. So like, like if you were used to constant war, you're going to have an inability to, if you don't have a stable place, you're going to end up, Anyway, it doesn't have a whole lot to do with this, but I love that phrase. I love that. I loved that point that he made, which I just, in terms of this character, Agent Larry Moss / Tana, he arguably is, like you said, violent because it's what kept him alive. But anyway, I just felt like the show made him overly simplistic, and you're saying he would be simplistic in real life. He would be like, I'm alive. He fights to be alive. He kills threats when he sees threats, and he's doing that. But anyway, I feel like there could be. It sounds like there's more coming to deal with these themes.
Well, and another thing with Star Trek is you have so many characters, and you have to progress them every episode. In some way, like even when an episode is a Kira episode, you still have a B plot and a C plot and whatever else that is going to progress. But to wrap it up, a couple of quick things. I know you really like Garrick. You like Garrick in this episode. You will not see Garrick again this season.
What? Oh, that sucks.
They did not invite Garrick back until season 2, but he will be in it a lot more then.
Well, that's really dumb.
But this first season, yeah, I know. And apparently it was even said by the producer that we should have invited you back sooner. Everyone loved you from that episode, and it was just very stupid of us to not bring you back sooner.
I mean, obviously they are responsible for bringing us Garrick at all, so I should not complain. I shouldn't call them stupid just for not recognizing while producing their television show that they had a good character.
They've got a lot of characters they gotta juggle too in this first season, and that makes sense. It's the first season, you really need to focus on your actual main characters that you have, and not your side characters that you start bringing in later.
I know we're wrapping up, but the memoryalpha.com thing has some background information. But anyway, I guess I would have to. I don't see anything that is easily digestible here that I can. It's just some. Anyway, just the trivia is not worth repeating here. I guess maybe it's worth repeating, but I'm not going to read it that quickly and digest it and use it in our episode.
And even still, like you don't need to look up trivia because it might be something that ruins something later. Okay. Let's see, the clothes in Garrick's shop. Well, I'm just reading something really quick here. In this episode, where one of them was worn by Stephen Miller in Haven. An Ariza outfit was worn by Sovak in Captain's Holiday from 1990. And one of Kamala's dresses from The Perfect Mate, 1992. These are all TNG episodes. Interesting, and not really that relevant.
But yeah.
I think we got to all the actual interesting stuff that was in the episode. I think so.
It was a nice episode. It was, again, Garrick reigned supreme. It bums me out that he won't return for a while, and I like Bashir. I'll be happy to see Bashir do things, and all of the people are nice. They just, it seemed like a regular episode of television, and it didn't seem that different from other Star Treks in just terms, just kind of. I didn't think the plot really took off. That's all.
No, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward episode. I'm surprised we even talked that long about it, but it's an early episode, so we're still kind of getting introduced to some of the characters, and so you can especially see some kind of discrepancies in the characters too, which makes it interesting. But okay, well, next episode is A Man Alone, which should have been this episode, so that'll be an interesting comparison to see, what should have been shown in this order, because there's a lot more kind of like introductory stuff in that episode as I remember it, so it probably would have made more sense being here, but is what it is.
Well, okay, well, I enjoyed it, and I'll try to talk I'll try to talk less about politics next time.
I need you to talk more about politics.
Right. More.
The entire episode, we're going to turn this into a politics podcast.
Opening and closing music courtesy of Lewis Humanoid 2 on YouTube. Go check them out.